It's exciting to be with you again, Brother Bedford. You are a credit to the race, and I'm talking about the human race, let alone Black people. And I just love the way you give. You give until it hurts, and then you give until it feels good. And you are about servant leadership, and you are about sharing information. You are not a hoarder, right? You are one who disperses all that you have learned. You do everything you can every minute of the day, dispersing that information to those who will listen. Well, there we go.
There it is.
That's what it was.
Yeah, well, you didn't even tell me you switched links, bruh.
I don't think I switched it. Maybe they switched it.
Why is it so hard doing business with my people? Why?
You know what they say, right? We can't get it right.
I was the old link, and you sent me through all these super. Woo, my people, bro.
You gotta love them.
You gotta love
Yeah,
them.
that's the only thing you can do them. That's the only thing you can do with them.
Thank you so
like
much.
My daughters, when they get a bill, I paid them people. If you paid them, why are they sending you a bill?
Right.
Wow. Okay, switch links on me. All right, no problem. Get it next time. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. We gonna, and if it wasn't, we would make it good, right? We'd make it good.
Okay, I still see some. I tell you what we're gonna do. For those of you who got questions, they're laughing at us, Dr. Kimbro. They're saying hilarious. Happy New Year, people saying Happy New Year's to you, George, Dr. Kimbro. So let's go ahead and get into this. George, you were speaking. I definitely want to give you an opportunity, just an opening statement. Then I definitely want to read both of your bios. And the reason I want to do that, I know that where I can speak about who and what you are and what you've done. Just I've studied and followed you both for many years. You're great mentors of mine, but I have to keep reminding myself that there are just always new people coming into the fray, right, who have not been properly introduced to you and Dr. Kimbro. And so I definitely want to read both of your bios so that people can have a vivid picture of who is before us and sharing their knowledge and their wisdom with us. So George, I want to give you an opportunity. I know you had an opening statement, and then Dr. Kimbro, and then I'll read the bios, and then we'll just go ahead and dive straight in.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm trying to remember where I was, but I'm going to just sort of start all over again. It really is just my thank you for all that you have given, all that you have invested, all that you stand for when it comes to uplifting, informing, educating, cheering on, inspiring our people. Dr. Kimbro and I are OGs, right? OGs. You're that generation slightly after us, but have been really influenced by the OGs.
No doubt.
And so we honor that, and we are so glad that there are brothers and sisters like you that take our words, put their own perspective and spin on it, say it a different way, but say the things that are critically important. And that's, I think, what tonight is all about. I love the way you framed this whole Zoom call. What are you calling it? Thoughts, views, and predictions. Well, I don't know if you want to ask Dr. Kimbro and I mean, we could stay on here all night.
Yeah,
with thoughts, views, and predictions. But thank you very, very much.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Fraser. And of course, as you mentioned, I've learned from you. And of course, Dr. Kimbro. So Dr. Kimbro, you have some opening words that you'd like to share?
No, I'm just glad and happy and honored to be among the mixed. As you can see, I've been writing for the better part of the day, man. So you get me rough and ready today, man. I'm all yours. George, it's always good to be in your orbit.
Absolutely. I know I'm in the right place when I'm on the same platform with Dr. Kimbro.
So let me do this. Dr. Kimbro, I'm gonna read your bio first, and then I'll read yours, Dr. Fraser. And and then we'll go ahead and dive in. But
Now,
I really,
before you do that, where are you calling from?
where am I calling from?
Yeah, where are you located now?
In Atlanta. I'm in
Oh,
Atlanta.
okay.
Yeah, I'm right up
Worked
the street.
out.
I'm right in Brookhaven. I'm right up the street from you.
Wow. I
Mhm.
never knew that. Yeah. Well, hey, welcome to Atlanta, bro.
Yeah, well, you know, the last couple years when we were going to start talking about it, clearly we've been interrupted with the pandemic, so nobody was really coming out. So I definitely wanted to reach out to you to kind of connect personally instead of over these Zooms.
Yeah,
So we're going to do that soon, very soon. Here we go. Let's get into this real quick because I know people are anxious to hear from both of you. Dr. Kimbro is an accomplished educator, speaker, consultant, and author with deep expertise in leadership, wealth, and success. In addition to teaching on the faculty of Clark Atlanta University School of Business Administration, Dr. Kimbro offers speaking and consulting services to help organizations achieve their maximum potential. Dr. Kimbro's honors include various awards bestowed by the business community, as well as the Dale Carnegie Personal Achievement Award. In 1996, he served as one of 8 national judges for the prestigious Ernst & Young USA Today Entrepreneur of the Year, held in Palm Springs, California. As a certified Napoleon Hill Science of Success trainer and leadership coach, Dr. Kimbro's writings have influenced readers from the streets of Melbourne, Australia, to Johannesburg, South Africa, to Seoul, Korea, to the boardrooms of General Motors, Walt Disney Corp, Citigroup, Frito-Lay's, Eli Lilly, Apple Computer, Exxon Mobil, Nike, and the Gallup Organization. He has appeared on the Today Show, Larry King, CNN, and has been featured in Success, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and USA Today on numerous occasions, sharing the keys to success and achievement. Dr. Kimbro's highest honor occurred when the National Black NBA Association presented him with the 2005 Naylor Fitzhugh Award, emblematic as one of the top professors in the nation. Dr. Kimbro is heavily influenced by the time-honored teachings of Napoleon Hill and Clement Stone. Having been asked by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to update and complete Hill's original manuscript, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. The results of Dr. Kimbro and Hill's efforts distills the secrets of success contained in the lives of peak performing men and women and reveals how readers can use and utilize these keys to make their dreams come true. And I definitely want to talk about the way that you did that. A lot of people don't know, Dr. Kimbro, that you're the co-author with Napoleon Hill. Sometimes they think that this is just your version of it. So I really want you to kind of go into that. So we'll go into that, but I'm gonna go straight to you, Dr. Fraser, and read yours, and then we'll dive head in. And as we've always said, Dr. Fraser, you know, this is 73 years, actually it's more than that now.
77.
77 years of Dr. Fraser's life in 400 words, right? So we know that it's possible to do, but we're going to try to do it. Dr. George C. Fraser is chairman and CEO of FraserNet, Inc., a company founded over 30 years ago to lead a global networking and economic development movement for people of African descent. Born in Brooklyn, New York, he was an orphan and a foster child for 15 years. He spent 20 years in leadership positions with Procter & Gamble, United Way, and Ford Motor Company before starting his own business, FraserNet, Inc., in 1987. He's written 6 best-selling books to include Success Runs in Our Race, Click, and most recently, Mission Unstoppable, Extraordinary Stories of Failure's Blessings, a book he co-authored with Les Brown. Upscale magazine named him one of the top 50 power brokers in Black America, and Black Enterprise magazine called him Black America's #1 networker and featured him on its cover. Dr. Fraser has been featured on 7 national magazine covers. He has received over 350 awards and citations to include induction into the Minority Business Hall of Fame and Museum, 3 honorary doctorate degrees and a chaplaincy and an ambassadorship. He is a certified financial education instructor and he has an insurance license. He has been named as one of the best speakers in America, and 5 of Dr. Fraser's speeches have been selected for global distribution by the prestigious Vital Speeches of the Day magazine. That's a first for any professional speaker in America. In 2016, Dr. Fraser received President Obama's President Lifetime Achievement Award. He is most proud of his 2 charter schools. Let me read that again, because I want to get that crystal clear. In 2016, President Obama awarded Dr. Fraser the President's Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Fraser is most proud of the 2 charter schools he helped found in Cleveland, Ohio, nearly 15 years ago, which educate nearly 300 inner city Black children, of which 60% are boys. Dr. Fraser's final act is to use his massive network and influence to join the fight for financial literacy in Black America. He is now in the process of launching the WINS, Wealth Building Centers and Curriculum. WINS is a refreshing and upgrading of the old school Black church wealth ministries. Over the next decade, thousands of new and well-equipped WINS centers will be open free of charge to all those who want to teach and learn the basics of money. Classroom and online instructions will be provided by thousands of underutilized financial services professionals who will get certified in financial education instruction and use the innovative WINS curriculum. Dr. Fraser has been married to Nora Jean for 45 years and has 2 sons and 2 granddaughters. And without further delay, welcome Dr. Fraser and Dr. Dennis Kimbro. Thank you both for gracing me with your time, your presence, and your energy. You both have been tremendous mentors to me for forever. These are my reference books on my desk. Dr. Kimbro, What Makes the Great Great is right here. And then of course, Click. They sit right here next to my computer, and I'm always referencing them for the work that I attempt to do, as Dr. Fraser said, to kind of share what it is that you all have shared with me. Now, the last time we were together, it was about 2, maybe 3 months after the lockdown. The last time we did this.
Wow.
So it's been almost 3 years since we've kind of done this.
Wow.
And so, Dr. Kimbro, I want to ask you, I mean, let's start with you. We want to get into your thoughts about what's happening currently and moving into the future. But I really want to know, what have you learned since the pandemic in 2020 up until this point? Is there any new, refreshing ideas that you've learned that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I always use as a gold standard the numeraire, Du Bois's quote. He said, you know, to be a poor man is hard, but be a poor race and land full of dollars is the very bottom of hardship. And for a lot of African Americans, that certainly hasn't changed. Good news and bad news. The good news, we came out of the pandemic in one piece. The bad news is when you look at education, when you look at wealth creation, when you look at all the indices, we could be growing at a lot faster rate than what we're doing. So the opportunities are there, and Lord knows the information is there. But we just got to double down on the utilization of it. That's all.
Yeah. What about you, Dr. Fraser? What have you gleaned from these last couple of years of the pandemic?
I've done a lot of reading, and because we were all forced inside, did a ton of Zoom presentations and gained a lot of insight. And I'm 77 now, so that bio you read was 4 years old. So I'm now married close to 50 years.
Wow.
And in October, I received my, believe it or not, 2nd Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Joe Biden. So I may be the only human being with 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards from presidents. I don't know how that's possible. Maybe I've actually led 2 lifetimes. Maybe this is a reincarnation of something. But while we were sequestered, we all, you know, those of us that read, and you're looking at 3 people on the screen that read. I came to grips with the thought, we don't know who we really are. I've talked about that on many occasions. So I'm not going to cover that ground. I have come to more deeply understand that we are drinking, we're all drinking from wells, Brother Bedford and Dennis, that we did not dig, that we are actually standing on the shoulders of giants. We must never, ever, ever forget this. 350-year fight for 250 years for freedom from 1619 to 1964, a 100-year fight for civil rights, voting rights, public access. And again, this inspires me the more I think about it, because it poses a deeper question that I've asked many audiences. Are we worthy of that legacy?
Mhm.
And if in fact you believe that we are worthy of that legacy, is a deeper question to pontificate. And that is, what then will be the legacy of generations X, Y, Z, and generation Alpha? We know what the legacy of the boomers were: civil rights, voting rights, fair housing, et cetera, et cetera. What will be the next generation's legacy? What will our children's 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 children be saying about them 150 years from now? It is my prayer that the 21st century mantra for Black people is economics is the new Black power. That is incredibly important, I think. We cannot allow our legacy as Black people to end with the civil rights struggle. So that would be A. B, and I've done a lot of reading, as we all do a lot of reading. And I read a piece by Stokely Carmichael that I often quote, and I want to repeat it because it bears repeating. And this piece I read really, really, really many moons ago. What I was young, actually, and really running the streets of New York, um, getting into mischief, and stumbled across this young brother who was on a soapbox really right down the street from the Apollo. I've told this story before. His name was Stokely Carmichael, who later changed his name to Kwame Ture. And he said something, Dr. Kimbro, that was so profound. Of course, I did not understand the profundity of it at that time. He just planted the seed, but that seed, properly cultivated, placed in the right soil, has bared fruit and has become the guiding light of my life. And I'm going to quote to you, I have not memorized the quote, but I'm going to give you the quote as Stokely Carmichael said it. He said, "No Black people in this country makes advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. All individual advancement is based on mass struggle, that we make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Therefore, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you." End of quote.
Wow.
I close with these three thoughts. A house divided among itself cannot stand. That's number one. Number two, old keys will not open new doors.
Mm.
And finally, number three, as we've all said in our own way, no one's saving Black people but Black people. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. What in the hell and who in the hell are we waiting for? And the answer is simple. We're waiting for us to get our act together. Then we will be free. Easy to say, it will take 100 years to do. So those are my opening thoughts, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Beautiful way to kick it off, Dr. Fraser. So much to unpack there. Dr. Kimbro, I mean, you're kind of, you've been out doing a lot of speaking, lately, and of course, you've always spoken inside of the institution, the university, but I've been monitoring and watching the activities as of late. So clearly, since we've come up out of the pandemic, you've put your running shoes on and you've been out in the highways and byways. And what are your thoughts based upon what you're witnessing as you're out speaking and engaging with our people? What are your thoughts about, as Dr. Fraser just said, we can't open new locks with old keys. So what are the new ideas that you're encountering, the new technologies, the new thinking that we must embrace in order to move forward?
That's a great question. And I was on a podcast from Washington, D.C. a couple of days ago, and I told them, I said, everybody's got, the new thing, the gift, especially in the social media world, new and improved, the new stance, the new ideas, the new 7 keys, the new tips, tools, and technology.
Right.
And I told them, I said, well, not really. And then I went on to say, well, Napoleon Hill had 17 principles for success. Stephen Covey has 7 habits of highly effective people. Brian Tracy, of course, has his 7. Dennis Waitley, 10 to 12 in the Seeds of Greatness. Marcus Buckingham certainly has 12 effective steps for effective managing. They're all different interpretations of the same basic, and that's the construct, basic, that's the sensibilities, principles. Now, the application can change, but the principles don't.
Right.
The principles don't. And I try to tell that every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm standing in front of Generation Z, Generation X, and for the last 2 semesters, thank you, Lord, I get a chance, I'm teaching 12 doctoral candidates, and these are straight up millennials. And you try to explain that to them, that nothing really changes. And if it does change, it's all based on your perception. You don't see what you see in terms of what you see. And as soon as you change, what you see will change. But it's the same. It is the exact same. So it's a question of, and George, you said this, of really knowing who you are and whose you are. And as soon as we latch onto that and know why we are here,
Right.
just the fact that you are here, it means that your purpose is here. And it's best that you get on the path of finding your purpose, Lawrence Scovel Shin, your divine design, the sooner you get on with life. Life isn't short. It's just so many people wait to live life and they realize, well, what took you so long? Talking about when I had the blessing to be a commencement speaker out in California, and I was talking about the creator economy, and me and a very dear friend, Simon Bailey, we often get into this dialogue on, you create your own economy. There's a book out there that I encourage everybody to get, and it's called Abundance. Oh man, right on the tip of my tongue.
Peter Diamandis?
Yeah.
Peter Diamandis' book?
Yeah, Peter Diamandis. And they went on to say, that everything changed in 1993 when a sophomore student at University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana came up with the first website. And within an 18-month period, the growth of the internet grew in excess of 2,300%. So what it did, like almost night, it changed life as we know it.
Right.
As we know it. So it made everybody a creator in their own economy. And you guys heard me say this before, as long as you got a smartphone and you got internet service, you are master of your universe. And at the end of the next 18 months, there'll be 8 billion sets of eyes and ears ready to hear what you can bring to the table. Now, how you capitalize that is completely and totally up to you. Question, Simon Sinek, why you do it is something completely different. And that's what George hit in his opening statement. It is the why. If you're in it for yourself, God help you. I hope you just make a bundle and jack it up. But if you have an overriding and overarching purpose, the universe is always on the side of the angels.
Right.
Always. And I'm not so sure that we're doing that. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. George, Brother Bedford, I read an interesting article online talking about beauty supply. And so many of us, particularly our women and stuff, we are in the beauty supply. And Black women have taken beauty to the next level,
Right.
to the next level. The opposite side of that, are we really capitalizing on their efforts? Are we really capitalizing? And I found, and when I read that data, I sent the text out to my 3 daughters and they said, Dad, come on, man, you're lying. But my youngest daughter, Mackenzie, with her big bad MBA, she said, no, Dad, that article's right. And what was that article? Less than 4% of the Black beauty products that we see in beauty supply stores are
Right.
Black owned.
Right. Yeah.
Less than 4%. And I said, okay, Mackenzie, help me remember. Well, Dad, you interviewed, man, Lisa Harris, man, she doesn't own that business anymore. And I said, what about that sister that came up with Honey Pot? Oh, man, she sold that a long time ago. But, whoa, whoa. Now, you go back to the 1950s and 60s when Black entrepreneurs were predominantly in manufacturing businesses. From Johnson Hair Care to Johnson Products and Dudley and all of that, all of them, S.B. Fuller. Now, come on, man. And even in the age of DEI, we're getting pigeonholed. That's why please don't use that term minority supplier with me. Don't use that term minority. You talk about code words, brother. You talk about gaslighting. Come on, man. No, I'm not coming here to be your caterer. I'm not coming here your janitorial service. Right. I mean, show me how we can really cash out. Show me how we can really cash out. Give me thank God, and I'm lining it up as fast as I can to finally interview Robert Smith. That's what we need more of. I know I went in a circuitous way, but you asked me what was on my mind and what I was talking about, and I can only hark back to where I was 3 days ago. What was I talking about now? And bring it to the table.
Right. No, that's perfect. This is great. What are you, because you said something, I'm just going to come back to it because you said something, but I want to hear what are you doing, Dr. Fraser? I mean, you same thing, you're hitting the ground running. I mean, you're all over the place. I'm following you. You're booked here. You're speaking there. What is happening with your interaction? What you have your fingers on the pulse of our people quite often. What are you seeing right now? What are your thoughts about that?
Dennis touched on it. So I'm going to go an inch wide and a mile deep. As I'm out here, as Dennis, as you're out here, and Dr. Kimbro is, we're out here, and we do have our fingers on the pulse. Some make us joyful, much make us thoughtful, a lot makes us sad. Dennis talked about purpose. Now he just glided by I guess he didn't want to get too deep on you. But that's huge.
It is.
It's huge. And so I'm going to unpack purpose in less than 90 seconds. And that is, what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is not complicated because God doesn't make anything complicated because he needs for everyone to understand it. We tend to make things complicated, not God. We make things complicated for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want to do it. So the more complicated we can make it, the more reasons we have for not doing it. The second reason we tend to complicate things is to control power. Right? So the more complicated I could make something, the more power or control I have over you that does not understand what in fact I am doing. A classic example of this was an idea that almost crashed the global economy, something called credit default swaps. Oh, about 6 people on earth understood what it was, but it
Right.
almost tanked the global economy. So let me unpack for everyone, what is the purpose of life? Now, God has put each of us here with a unique purpose. There's a job that he's assigned only Dr. Dennis Kimbro to do, and if he does not do it, it will not get done in the universe. The same thing with you, Brother Bedford, and the same thing with the 83 people, at least on the Zoom call, and many more on the streaming, right? There's an assignment you have. That is your unique purpose. But the global purpose of us sucking up this good air and taking up whatever time God has blessed you with, the global spiritual purpose is, here's the purpose, it's 4 simple things: to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. Now, your big singular assignment is to find out uniquely what that job is in you, right? Let me say that with a little quip. What is the difference between a smart person and a wise person? It's actually very simple. Smart people know what they want. Wise people know what they don't want, right? They know what they don't want. They have navigated the obstacles of life, right? My favorite quote outside of the Bible, you've heard me say this many times, Brother Bedford, outside of the Bible, is from Marcus Aurelius, one of the 5 great Caesars. Now, there were 40 Caesars, but Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars. And he said, the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Now, let me say that more simply. The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that he has prepared you for? The next thing God does is he puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle, to stumble, to fail, to fall, and to learn the lessons from those obstacles. And then God gives you your next assignment at a slightly higher level based on the lessons, hopefully, you learned from the obstacles that you had to navigate earlier. And then what is the next thing God does? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under. And when we look back over our lives, it is a life of overcoming obstacles from which one gains wisdom and one knows what in fact they don't want. Okay. I wrote something and I can't find it. I wanted to because I was trying to put that in sort of everyday lay language, so the brothers and sisters could understand it. And I actually wrote it to give it to you, but damn it, I can't find it.
Well,
But
let me offer this, because I tell my
Sure.
students the same thing. Don't worry about everybody who's trying to chase the bag and this, that, and everything. I tell them all the time, don't worry about what you're getting. Concentrate more on what you're becoming.
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
that's a beautiful, beautiful way to say that. Now, one final little piece. For 35 years, I have been either infamous or famous for helping us to understand networking,
Right.
right? And having written 6 books on that subject. 1994, Success Runs in Our Race came out right after Dr. Kimbro's killing, right? And the complete guide to effective networking in the Black community. It is a modern day classic, as Dr. Kimbro's books are. We still read them and refer to them, as you pointed out, Brother Bedford. It is a book that started the networking conversation in Black America and ultimately started the networking movement. If you haven't read it, please read it. You can still buy this book. Believe it or not, it's now 32 years old. It still sells 10,000 copies every year on Amazon. So there, other than the Bible, there are very few books that Dr. Kimbro has written and I have written that you can still buy 30, 35 years later.
Classics that are just
Right, they're
classics.
classics. They're classics, as Dr. Kimbro's is, right? So what I've decided to do actually this year is to put a fresh coat of paint, Dr. Kimbro, the idea of networking. So I'm no longer calling it networking. I'm now calling it the power of the human connection. The power of the human connection, because there is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own by yourself in a vacuum.
Exactly.
Right? Leaders don't build businesses, they build people, and people build businesses. Right? So our job as leaders, as servant leaders, is nurturing and cultivating and inspiring and training the people around us. This requires understanding the power of the human connection, which is closely associated, by the way, with wealth. So let me just unpack this in 5 minutes, and then I want to throw it back to my colleague and good friend, Dr. Dennis Kimbro. There was only one time in the Bible that God did not like his own work. And he contradicted himself in a sense. It's Genesis 3:1. God saw everything that he made, and behold, he said, it was good. But then in Genesis 1:18, he switched up. And the Lord said, it is not good for man to be alone.
Right.
I will make him a helper comparable to him. This is the only time in the Bible God was not pleased with his own work. He said, I sort of screwed up here. We just got a guy hanging out, right? That's not going to get it. There's a biblical declaration, by the way, for the human connection. And it's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. There are 800,000 words in the Bible. Only 1,500 words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this is Jesus, the Son of God, right? He couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So God's love of the human connection is clear. And he gave us two ways, and I'll close with this, to ensure that we connect, so that we are creating more of his children to serve us, right? And for us, in fact, to serve. Well, Dr. Fraser, what are those two ways? Sex and money. Sex and money, Dr. Kimbro. Right? Now, so let me unpack that. I know it sounds a little crazy. Let me unpack it, everybody.
Because you know
Don't burn me on the stake. Don't burn me at the stake.
I was just about to say, because you know you excited a lot of people with this.
All right. So the primary motivation of sex is ecstasy. There is nothing on earth that you can experience better than the ecstasy of sex. But that is not the primary goal of sex. The primary goal of sex is what? Creation. That is the primary goal of creation, to create more of us, to serve us, and for us to serve. Right? Now, you create children, and if you screw them up, we've all seen that, you will have a living hell to pay. So, sex, to ensure that God's children continue to connect. Money. Now, this sounds a little odd. Fundamentally, the only way to earn money is to develop your mind and thus your skills. And the more skills you have, the more knowledge you have, generally speaking, the higher your wages are. Right? The higher your wages are. If you're only making $8 an hour, you're only worth $8 an hour. Right? So money encourages us to develop, to evolve, and to develop, and to become productive human beings, to serve and to add value to what? God's children. That encourages. In fact, Malcolm Gladwell said in one of his books, he said a common attribute of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. Rich people, and that can mean rich could mean a number of ways in which one can become rich. Rich people have lots of friends. So I finish with this final point. You measure your wealth, brothers and sisters, in case no one has told you. You measure your wealth by other people. That's what, right? Is you measure your wealth, or the measure of your wealth is other people. And so the human connection is what God wanted for all of his children. But most of us don't understand that. But you should.
Yes.
There's no way you're going to get where you're going. There's no way you're going to free yourself without understanding the power of this connection and doing the things necessary to love, give, serve, and add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. I'm sorry I went a little philosophical on you, but I think it's important to understand.
No, I think that's where we need to go, Dr. Fraser. I think we've done too much surface dwelling, as Dr. Kimbro alluded to earlier. So Dr. Kimbro, as Dr. Fraser said, he wanted to kind of pump that back to you. What is your take on what Dr. Fraser just unpacked?
Oh yeah. Hey, here we are, 21st century. Relationships is a new currency. And, we've heard it a number of different ways, but you never know how far that handshake is going to extend. So life is really about the cultivation of relationships.
That's right.
And now, always going back to my students, nice article several days ago in LinkedIn that with Generation X and Generation Z, corporate America is beginning to take it upon themselves to go ahead and train their younger employees on soft skills. On soft skills. And I said to my students a million times, if I said it one time, if you can't manage these simple, what they call soft skills, life will be hard on you.
Right.
Life will be hard on you. Again, going back on LinkedIn, the number one question that this generation does not ask is, how's your day going? Because if you're going to walk up to somebody, I'm going to walk up to George Fraser and say, George, how's your day going? That obviates the fact that I'm not going to look at my cell phone. Oh, so you did that over the weekend? How did that go? No, I'm going to put the cell phone away and I'm going to look into George's eyes. Oh, George, that was interesting that you did that. And what did you do after that? Wow, man, I would like to do that. Now, how often do you do that? People don't care about you till they realize how much you care about them. And it's a caring society.
That's right.
In every business sector. Right now, if you look at the US economy and you look at the number of employees, you got about 170 million employees in the US economy, okay? In excess of what, 21 trillion. And there right now are 18 different sectors. Healthcare is a sector, technology is a sector, education is a sector, transportation, on and on and on. And they all founded on that simple principle. People coming in, shaking your hand, how are you doing, building and cultivating relationships.
Mhm.
That is the currency.
Yeah.
Amen.
And,
Amen.
and to add to that is I posted it, and because someone had asked me a question. I literally posted it on Facebook and LinkedIn. I think it was yesterday. The question that someone asked me was, how are you able to get the caliber of Dr. Fraser and Dr. Kimbro on a call together? And my answer was one word. I said relationships. I said I have a relationship
Absolutely.
with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which
Yeah.
means that we have to build everyone. You've done it. Dr. Kimbro has done it. I've done it. Most successful people have done it. You have to build an ecosystem of great relationships. That's fundamentally. There is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain, as I've said a million times, on your own by yourself in a vacuum without other people to serve you and you them. You have nothing. You have nothing. In fact, I call the human connection customer service. And for me, customer service is close to worship service, right? Additionally, many is always smarter than one,
Right.
right? And you make money by giving and not taking. So you got to give until it hurts and then give until it feels good. So I couldn't find this piece that I had actually written for your show. You asked, I found it. I found it. I found it. So because I took the time to write it, I'm gonna deliver it. It'll take less than a minute and a half.
Okay.
And it's about obstacles. When you walk down the road of life, you're gonna trip and stumble over shit. Excuse my French. Let me say that again. When you walk down the road of life, you're gonna you're gonna trip and stumble over shit. Okay, that's natural. But don't be the one who trips and stumbles over shit and keeps walking. Now, if you trip over something, you stop and pick that up and take it with you. You keep going. You trip over something else, something again. You stop, you reach down, you pick that up, and you take it with you. Because you're going to trip over a lot of stuff in life. So what is the real meaning of this? Because you're going to come back down that same road one day, and you don't want to be tripping over the same shit. So that's why when you trip over something, you stumble, there's an obstacle, you learn from it, right? Because you're going to have to go that way again, right? And we've all said, we've had people in our lives who come back to us with the same problem 3 or 4 times, right? And you simply say in the quiet of your own mind, you never learn.
Right.
Talked about this 4 times.
Yeah.
You did not learn the lesson. You tripped over something. You did not learn the lessons from it. And now you're tripping over the same stuff.
Yeah. This is
You
good.
know, in the past 20 some odd years, again, the power of relationships, I've had no less than 70 Black millionaires and 1 billionaire, actually 2 billionaires in my class in front of my students and never paid them a dime. Didn't cost me a thing, except all right, lunch, but I didn't spring for lunch. I got somebody to pick up the tab for lunch. But you talk about the power of relationships. How in the world, me, Tyrese Gibson, imagine that. Tyrese Gibson, Dikembe Mutombo,
Right.
wrap your head around Steve Harvey. I mean, wrap your head around that. Jeanette Patton, Usher's mother.
Right.
Pinky Cole. I mean, that's the power of relation. Now I hear students have interns and blah, 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 and they'll come back. Oh man, Dr. Kimbro, they were reading one of your books. Oh, really? And that spurs me to go ahead and leverage that and the like. But that cannot be understated.
Right.
It cannot be understated.
Yeah.
Yes, I know it's who you know, blah, blah, yeah, but yeah, also what's critically important, who knows you?
Right.
That's right.
Who knows you? And what do you bring to the table? I mean, the 4 critical questions. Number 1, where have you been? George, you mentioned to the fact you're 77, I'm 72. The bottom line, we've been down the block a couple of times.
Yeah.
Well, we got to give accounting for our time on earth. All right, so what are you doing, man? So number 1, sit back, take an accounting of what you've done, any impact, any difference that you've made. Number 2, why are you here? George, you mentioned it again. You're here to serve. You're here to serve.
That's right.
That's a part of your bandwidth. That's part of your value proposition. You're here to serve others. Service is the price you pay for the space that you occupy. Number 3, okay, so what can you do? Now you really got to step back and find your area of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Find your life's purpose. Again, your divine design. So many students, well, Dr. Kimbro, I don't know what it is. Well, you've been given here's the rubric. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. What in the world does that mean? Get some quiet time. The Bible says, remember the Sabbath. Well, the Sabbath is every day. It's just not one day a week, and it's just not a Sunday. It's not a Friday. It's not a Saturday. It's every day. In all things, see thy presence, feel thy presence, acknowledge him in all paths. So seek ye first the kingdom of God, and it will come to you. And then last but not least, where are you going? Where are you going? Which is probably the most powerful, to get you to go through life looking through the front window and not the rear view mirror. If I had to go through life looking through the rear view mirror, oh my God,
Right.
all the nonsense that I had to put up with, thank God, I never have to do that again. I remember writing that book 7 years and just the utter nonsense. And George, you said you overcome shit. Well, the bullshit I had to go through, the times that have put me on my knees and the tears that I cried and times I prayed on my wife's lap. I said, Pat, when does it end? Whoa, and thank God I never have to go through that nonsense again. Whoa. So, where are you going? And that's a powerful anecdote, and it's a powerful metaphor with like George, you said at the beginning, complicated stuff. If it's not complicated, we make it complicated. And if it is complicated, we make an excuse not to do it because it's complicated. Well,
Right.
Henry David Thoreau, that's what I was thinking of when you said it. He would always reply to his teacher, who was Ralph Waldo Emerson, simplify, simplify, simplify.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when you simplify life, there's only 4 things in life you need: something to do, something to hope for, someone to love, and somewhere to go, somewhere, something to believe in.
Right.
That is it. And the amazing thing about that, you'll be shocked. How many people can't even get that right? You can't even answer 4 questions. You can't even check 4 boxes, my brother. Well, I'm gonna give you the philosophy of that old Negro philosopher known as Donald H. Kimbro. My father had some sayings, and when he tell you these sayings, your self-esteem would be so low you could sit on a dime and swing your legs. I'm gonna give you one. George, you talk about we old school. This is old school. He would tell either me or my brother, boy, if brains were dynamite and yours blew up, it wouldn't even mess up your hair. If you can't check these 4 boxes, brother, come on, man. And I'm not making light of it. I mean, there's stuff going on right now that, hey, I know you need help. I know you need growth and development, but the tools are there. It's there. It is there. 3 times Jesus in that garden asked people, do you love me? I mean, there are 20 human values. Number 1, achievement, all the way down to wisdom. And the greatest is love. But the second greatest is empathy. See yourself from somebody else's eyes. Do you really care? Do you really care? All right, so 3 times Professor of the Year at that school. They asked me, what makes you different? And I tell them all the time, yes, I know you're an accounting student. Yes, I know you're going to sit for your CPA after you graduate. Yes, I know your area of specialization is taxation and you're marketing and you're management. And I know you're from Chicago, you're from Houston. But beneath all the demographic and the infographics, beneath all of that, I know that you're somebody else's child. All right, so there we were Thanksgiving, and I'm knocking down, I don't know how many Coronas. I'm with my middle daughter. I'm at her house. I'm with one of my son-in-laws, and I'm watching the football game. And all of a sudden, my cell phone rings. And I didn't recognize the number, but I pick it up. Yeah, this is Dennis Kimbro. Yeah, this stuff yeah. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was just talking, and I said, yes. Oh, mother, yes, mother, you don't have to worry about that. Mother, me and your son have had this conversation before. Mother, do me a big favor, mother. I hope you are someplace seated. Place your feet up, mother. Go get yourself an umbrella drink and take a nice drink. Because, mother, you have done your job, mother. Now let your son do his. And after I hung up, my daughter said, Dad, who in the world? I said, that was the mother of one of my students. What's the first thing I do with my male students the first day of class? My first day of class is next Thursday, a week from this coming Thursday. And I've done it for more than 20 some odd years. I say goodbye to the young ladies. Hey, have a great day. See you in a couple days, blah, blah, blah. You know how to reach me. You need anything. Men, I just need 5 minutes of your time. My teaching assistants, they leave because the majority female too. I don't want just me and the boys. And then I just tell them, man, I just talk to them. I said, fellas, I speak 2 languages. I speak English, I speak profanity. Which one do you want? I said, the only time that I will ever speak to your mother is the day after you receive your degree. That is the first time I will see or ever talk to her. In other words, no, you're not gonna go run to the skirt. You're not gonna hide behind. We're all men. No, you come talk to me. Well, anyway, when she called, before I hung up, it was, I'm not gonna tell you, I'll give you the last name, James. And I said to her, I said, Mother, I can't wait to get my hands on Mr. James, your son. Because we've had this conversation before. Long, circuitous way, empathy, caring, more than. Yeah, so all right, so I teach at an HBCU. You know, George, we talk about businesses. If I had a magic wand, and this is my Harry Potter moment, I wish we could get more of our scholars who would teach at HBCUs. Yeah. I'm not going to mention any names. And don't get it twisted, fellas. My degree says Northwestern. That means I'd go Georgia Tech tomorrow. You hear what I said?
Right.
70 miles away, I can go to UGA. I can go Emory Friday. So don't get it twisted. And I see him, blah, blah. I'm not going to mention names, but you know, I got a lot of pushback when I talked about Deion Sanders and he leaving Jackson State. And see, I got it right here. I got my Deion shirt on, believe, man. I know. Hey, man, blah, blah, blah. But that's a broader argument. Yeah. Because what do you get when you teach at an HBCU? Number one, you're not going to be paid what you're worth monetarily. There'll be psychic income when you see your race succeed. Every time I go to commencement and I see them marched up there, that's psychic income for me. That's a box I can check. That's one I took care of. But there's other things that come to the mix. What comes in the mix? Oh, Dr. Kimbro, man, they're gonna throw my son out of daycare, man, and I don't have them. Okay, how much am I here? I'm not gonna pay for it all week, man, but here it is. Oh, Dr. Kimbro, I got my job, man. I ain't got no gas in the car. Here it is. And even the folks that work in housekeeping, what's wrong with my brother? Man, I'm a little short and I got to get my medication, blah, blah, blah. Here, that's empathy. That's caring. That's what George said at the beginning of this segment.
That's right.
Do you succeed or does your race succeed? And then when it all comes back to that, that's what it comes to. I'm not patting myself on the back, but come on, man. That's how we're going to get over. Just imagine Beyonce coming out of a venue after she gave a concert. And even though she's coming out of the venue and going through a back alley and everything, people might see her out corner right and just bum rush her. Oh, Beyonce, man, hey man, look, download this video. This is my cousin, man. See his dancing move. And Beyonce, can I see you this track, man? This is my little girl. You know, she's got some good tunes and everybody's trying to tap into Beyonce and blah, blah, blah. Everybody's trying to bum rush and everything. Well, if that's Beyonce, imagine what it was like for Jesus when he walks into a village.
Right.
And then he says to a few of his disciples, who touched me? Jesus, pump the brakes, my brother. What do you mean, who touched you? No, who touched me? Jesus, they tore your robe. Look at your hair. They've been pulling your hair. You only got one sandal. Someone stole one of your sandals. 50 million people had their hands on you. And Jesus says, no, only one touched me. What in the world is that? Only one tapped in. Only one read between the lines of what George said in his book. Only one applied what he said in the book. If you're reading for knowledge, you're not educated, you're a fool. The reason why you read is to take action on what you're reading.
Right.
And what a blessing that was for me that I took action. Here I am, I just graduated, and I'm on the job, and I stumble upon that old issue of Time magazine on Martin Luther King, the Montgomery bus boycott, and they highlighted those 5 Black millionaires in 1955. If I didn't take action on that, there wouldn't be this book.
Right.
Classic.
I went home and told my wife, and she just blew it up. Oh, Dennis Kimbro, I am so glad you read that article. I really am. Now, where are we going for dinner? I said, Pat, you don't understand. Man, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if they're still living. And 4 of the 5 were still living. And the stories they told me. 2 of them told me, and T.M. Alexander and A.G. Gasson told me that they tried to convince Martin Luther King to buy the bus line. And he says, now's not the time for that. Now's not the time. S.B. Fuller went to him and said, man, they're broke. Make him an offer. And George, that's where you come in with your right.
That's right. Right.
Now, long, circuitous way.
That's it.
No, this
That's
is
powerful, man. Whoa.
Right. Let me.
That's powerful.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen.
And we still don't do it to this day. You were mentioning, George, you said what, 10,000 copies a year?
Right.
Okay, so where are the other books like this?
Right. Right.
Where are they?
Right.
We don't
Right.
even chronicle the achievements of our race.
That's,
like you should. That's for sure.
And you doubt me? All these articles. Folks I want to interview to put them in a book. Will I even be living by the time I get through this?
Wow.
right.
Come on, man, what are you doing? And let me go get this. Here is the book. David McClellan, The Achieving Society, 25 years he taught at Harvard. And he says in here, every race, every group, every culture, every ethnicity always has someone to go ahead and give them the keys to success for future generations.
Right.
Every
Right.
race, every group, every people, every nation, every culture. And there I am in 1978. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. All right, so where's Black America's book? And I look. And I look. And I look. And then that Time magazine. That's what the Bible is, man. Whatever you're looking for is looking for you.
That's right.
That's powerful.
Right. That's right.
Florence Shin said it was a tire looking for the car. It was the bell looking for the phone.
Mhm.
So if you don't know your purpose, that means you haven't been seeking your purpose.
Right.
Because your purpose out there looking for you. Where
This
you
is-
been, my brother?
That's right. The great black philosopher, French philosopher, Franz Fanon. Franz Fanon, Dennis, Franz Fanon. You talked about simple.
Yeah.
He reduced everything to a very simple thing. He said the ultimate question that Black people have to ask themselves is a very simple question. First, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Second, why do I exist?
Yeah.
Third, am I all that I am capable of being?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Simple. Who am I? Why do I exist? Am I all that I am capable of being?
Mhm.
What we don't want to be accused on this very august show is just talk about the problems. There are solutions.
Right.
There are there's a myriad of solutions. So I am going to, in less than 90 seconds, recap by bullet point the problems.
Mm-hmm.
One, Black people don't trust one another.
Yeah.
This was instilled during slavery, and we still suffer from it. Number two, selfishness and greed. I got mine, you
Mhm.
get yours. Number three, Dennis just ranted on this, a lack of knowledge. We don't read. What's the old saying, Dennis? If you want to hide something from a Black man, put it in a book.
Mhm.
We don't know how to set goals and plans. That's number three. Number four, we have no vision
Mhm.
for the future. We're living in the now. We're living
Mhm.
today. And we don't see real value,
Mhm.
as I articulated earlier, in the power of the human connection, right?
Right.
The connection. So just brief one-liners on how do we resolve this? How do we resolve this? A, effective networking, right? Where we organize, we mobilize, we collaborate. Entrepreneurship, where we are the most creative people on the freaking planet, okay? There's no way we should be engaged in entrepreneurship without bringing serious innovation. We have that potential in our own mind, which means we must shift the mantra that Dr. Kimbro and I and you, Brother Bedford, were raised under, and that was get a good education and get a good job. Right? That's what we were raised. That's what we did. Many of us got a good education, got a good job, and it was generally a good government job. All right. Now it must be, yes, get a good education and create a job,
Mhm.
or help others to create jobs, right? To create work and jobs for our people, because that's the only way to raise up the poor. So it is my dream that by the end of the 21st century, through entrepreneurship and innovation, and bring our creativity to entrepreneurship, right? Now, don't get it twisted. Entrepreneurship is not right for every Black person. There's some Negroes that I've met that should not be within 100 yards of owning a, right? Absolutely. No question about that. But we must engage. And it is my dream that by the end of the 21st century, that we will become ultimately the number one employer of our own people. Right? Jews are the number one employer of Jews. East Indians, the number one employer of East Indians. Arabs are the number one employer of Arabs, right? So that's ultimately, we must create work and jobs for our people. That requires an entrepreneurial paradigm shift, right? Number three, you talked about it, Dennis, building and managing our wealth through financial intelligence, financial literacy, financial education. Okay. Number 4, recycling black dollars with $1.7 trillion annual economy, right? Right. And our money goes in one direction away from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. In fact, we are the consumption class in America. White folks are the merchant class. They make stuff, we buy stuff. We have to shift that paradigm over the next 100 years, right? Number 5, we must model Black excellence. Now, I've coined a term, Black excellence 2.0, right? So what am I saying? We have to show up excellence. Excellent is the base. It used to be the goal. It is now the base. Now that has come full circle because our parents taught us, Dennis, that we're going to have to be twice as good to get half as much. Because if you're Black and mediocre in America, you better leave because you're going to be marginalized and you will ultimately be destroyed. So for us, excellence is the base and exceptionalism is the goal, right? Black excellence 2.0. Now, this is a deep one, and then I'm finished. But it's very simple conceptually. There are, and I just saw this statistic the other day. There are 1,790,000 Black millionaires in America. 1,790,000 Black millionaires. So what is the goal? Save one Black child other than your own. Now, if you're not doing right by your own children, you're not in this equation. But with almost 1.8 million Black millionaires, save one Black child. Now, what do I mean by this? And I'm finished. Get them in and out of high school with a diploma, with no children, and no criminal record. I didn't say get them in and out of college. I just said get them in and out of high school with no criminal record, right? No child, and a diploma. And you will lay the foundation for the rest of their life. Now you say, well, Dr. Fraser, where are we going to find these kids? And listen, if you've been Black as long as I've been Black, all have either family or extended family where our brother or sister or uncle or aunt ain't doing right by their children. Take on the responsibility of just one of them. Now, with 1.8 million Black millionaires in America, do you realize that we can solve our own problem, right? Saving our own children. I don't know what the dropout rate for Black children are in Atlanta, but I can tell you what they are for Black children in Cleveland, 51%. 51% of Black children in Cleveland schools are dropping out of high school. It skews higher to Black males. Now, could you imagine a Black male in the 21st century without a high school diploma? Where is that brother going? That brother is going straight to jail. They're calculating the dropout rates in high school right now to project how many jail cells they will need in the future. So we can, in fact, do this. It's a simple mantra that we teach at the Power Networking Conference. These categories that I'm talking about, this is what we've been focused on for 22 years. Our mantra is very simple. We must learn, we must earn, and then we must return. We have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. This is exactly the point Dr. Kimbro was making, right? We must return, right? Because no one is going to do this for us but us. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. And it ain't complicated.
That's right. Thank you for that, Dr. Fraser. And I know we're getting close to that time. So what I want to do, I want you to kind of go further with what you're doing, Dr. Fraser. There's a couple questions came up. I'm not going to go through all of the questions, especially those who got 2 to 3. But I did want to just give you an opportunity. That book was called Abundance. That was by Peter Diamandis. the book that Dr.
It's got some
Kimbro,
age on it.
yep, that was called Abundance by Peter Diamandis, Rick, if you got
Mhm.
that. And to David, I'm only going to answer your first question, David, at least put it before Dr. Fraser and Dr. Kimbro. And then after this, then I want you to tell everyone, Dr. Fraser and Dr. Kimbro, what you're going to be doing, where you're going to be in the near future, of course, the Power Networking Conference. And then, of course, Dr. Kimbro, where you're speaking at. I think you got a new show coming out, a new podcast. So we want to give everybody that information. And if you like this, of course, you can email me if you want me to send you this recording, because I know there's a lot that was said that needs to be studied and unpacked. And we could go on and on for hours. I literally wrote down some notes that both of you shared that I really wanted to ask you the question, but we've simply run out of time. But I'm gonna put a pin in it, but I'm gonna mention it because you both taught me this over 15 years ago, and you've kind of alluded to it today, but we didn't really just address it. But I really want to talk to you both, let's say in part 2, about mindset, because we literally have to work on how do we develop and cultivate these types of mindsets that you both have been alluding to. In fact, the whole difficulty and obstacle piece. I think, I don't know if either one of you have referenced this book to me before, but there's a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And she talks about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And both of you really espouse the principles of the growth mindset. And I'd love for us to kind of talk about that at another time. So that's the cliffhanger. We're going to get you all to come back, and we're going to have Dr. Fraser.
That's a rich subject.
Dr. Kimbro, and we don't have the time. I mean, that's literally a 2-hour subject to kind of talk about how do we cultivate and develop the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, and the things that have made us so fragile, as Dr. Fraser pointed to, not being able to face obstacles and difficulties and overcome them. We really want to unpack that. So we'll do that. But Dr. Kimbro, a gentleman asked a question about, let me get his name. I don't want to just say the gentleman. Let me get your name again. Brother David asked the question, you mentioned some of the soft skill training. So what are some of those examples of soft skills that you were?
Top of the list, number 1 is executive presence. And that's more than just wearing a suit. So many times, I shouldn't say so many times, but there have been instances where students will come into my class, particularly if we have an outside speaker or they got an exercise they have to do and they're really booted and suited. And I tell them to adjust the walk. Now, how do you adjust the walk? You just don't come into class and take your seat. If you see somebody else in that room, you introduce yourself. All right. So executive presence is more than the look. It's more than the look. It's the communication skills and the like.
Right.
So that's at the top of the list. Number 2, knowing your personal value proposition. What do you bring to the table? What are your gifts? What are your talents? Everybody has a gift. How do I know that? Because you're here. Your feet are on earth. You're here. You're breathing. You're an organism. I know you have a gift. Your goal is to make that gift a talent. And how do you do that? By utilizing it over and over and over and over and over. All right. Michael Jordan's gift, okay, was not shooting the basket. His gift was persistence. Why? Because he and Kobe did it 50 million times where it became a talent.
Right.
If I had to shoot as many shots as he did, I said, man, it ain't worth it, blah, 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 and this, that, everything. 300 jump shots a day. 300 jump shots a day. 300 jump shots, 4 hours between game 7 of the championship round. Would you do it? So, yeah, those are the type of soft skills that this generation, it's absent in their makeup. Why? Because they've been relegated. Every now and then you get that prompt, I am not a robot. And I tell my students sometimes, you don't check that box, you are a robot.
Let me.
I mean, now, come on, man. Talk to me, engage.
That's
because
deep.
It all goes back to the quality of the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Let me add one to that. That's
Sure.
deep. That's beautiful, Doc. At some point in life, you will discover that your EQ will be more important than your IQ.
Oh, yes.
What is EQ? EQ is emotional intelligence.
Yep.
Your emotional
Mhm.
intelligence, which is a relatively new science, about 25 years old. This is the best book you could read on it. I've read them all, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, right? What is emotional intelligence? Let's make it simple, as Dr. Kimbro insisted, and he's right.
Mhm.
Emotional intelligence is your ability to manage and control your 5 most important emotions, and to use the management and control of those emotions to cultivate, nurture, and to build relationships at work, at home, and in the community, right? So, and I don't want to unpack it any more than that. We could have that. That's a whole paradigm shift for most of us. If you were to ask 100 Black people on the streets of New York, what is EQ or what is emotional intelligence, they wouldn't know what in the hell you are talking about. But that is one of the core values, as Dr. Kimbro pointed out, of executive presence, your comportment, your language, your words. You know how powerful your words are? If you knew that, you would be very careful of the words in which you speak. Do you know how powerful your mind is, or how powerful your thinking is? If you understood that, you would be very careful of the thoughts that you have. So this executive presence, this comportment, right? This
Uh-oh.
He's on a laptop.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so I tell you what, we're gonna,
impression that you write, you're very gifted.
you there, George?
I'm here.
Yeah, you kind of
Okay.
you froze up for a second, but I
Oh
think
yeah, my internet. You said my internet. What was the last thing you heard?
you were just talking about presence. I think you had pretty much wrapped it up. You were on the
Okay.
present, but then you
Yeah,
kind
it
of.
says my internet is unstable.
And I want to share a quick story, man. I'm trying to give the folks on the webinar their money's worth. I know no money is involved, but 1947 or 1948, Pepsi-Cola was the first corporate partner, first corporation to hire Black sales reps. Okay, you can read the article years ago in the Wall Street Journal. And interesting enough, that Pepsi wouldn't allow the sales reps into the home office. District managers had to meet these sales reps at their church, at their fraternal and sorority organization and the like. But people don't realize that Martin Luther King had a side hustle. And what was that side hustle? He taught business communication. He trained business communication and professional development to a number of corporations, particularly with their sales needs.
There you go. Wow.
And that was in the mid and late 1950s. He was doing that.
Wow.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Again, going back to, hey man, well, we can talk on that for days.
Yeah, we're going to set something up. I mean, because here's what done happened. As you both started talking with so much fire, now all of a sudden there's questions coming. Now we got rapid questions and we can't address these questions. So here's what I want you all to do. And then we're going to wrap up with just asking Dr. Kimbro what he has going on and how you can stay in touch with him and follow the show, the programs and everything that he has going on. And the same thing with Dr. Fraser. So real quick, I think one of the questions, let me just answer this one question. The author of that book is Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset. Carol Dweck. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. The rest of them, just send them to me at brobedford@brobedford.com. Just let me know that you want this recording and I'll make sure that I send it to you. And if you have questions, I can gather your questions and forward them to Dr. Kimbro and Dr. Fraser for you, or we'll try to just set up a Q&A session or something. And also let me know if you like more of these. If you'd like to hear more from Dr. Fraser and Dr. Kimbro, let us know in the email. Again, that's brobedford@brobedford.com. I see you, Dr. Ellington. I can't get to your question. I mean, there's so many questions coming up, people asking you to expound on some things that you've said before, Dr. Fraser. So this is great. This is great. We'll get these questions. So email the questions and your requests for this recording at brobedford@brobedford.com. That's BROBEDFORD.com. So Dr. Kimbro, I heard a few weeks ago, I think you were launching a new podcast possibly. Can you kind of let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, follow you?
Yeah, well, they can get in contact with me through Dr. Dennis Kimbro Speaks, but it's really not a podcast. This organization in South Florida, I met them about 18 months ago. And really just based off of a simple conversation. He heard of me, young brothers, and said, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I teach." And we just started talking. And halfway through the conversations, we were discussing some of the issues of the day and Black wealth and this, that, and everything. And he says to his partner, "Man, I wish I had my camera." Because he didn't want to use his cell phone. "Man, I like to video this." And he asked me, he said, "Are you doing anything in terms of, social media?" And I said, "Brother, I got a full day. My stuff is packed." And he said, "Man, suppose we could send somebody up there and have similar conversation." And that's how it grew.
Mhm.
He said, "Your classroom is really outside of those walls. It's
Mhm.
time to share it." Well, I've been doing close to a year now, and they checked the analytics, and we had a meeting, and he said, "Where are your hotbeds? Where do you have most of your customers?" And I said, "Atlanta?" "Nah." I said, "New York?" "Nah." "Chicago?" "No." "LA?" "No." He said, "No place here in the United States." I said, "You're kidding." He said, "What's number one?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Number one is London." He said, "You were popping off the charts, London." He said,
Wow.
"What's number two?" I said, "Well, if I couldn't get London number one, I can't get number two." He said, "You want number two is Botswana." I said, "You've got to be kidding." Shortly after he told me that, it wasn't 30 days, I had a webinar in Botswana.
Wow.
So it's out. I'm trying to get my message out there. They say, "Don't be selfish. Go ahead and share it." And that's what I'm doing.
And what's that website again, Dr. Kimbro?
It's Dr. Dennis Kimbro Speaks, and it's the Global Classroom.
The Global Classroom. And please make sure that you all pick up Dr. Kimbro's book. Dr. Kimbro, I love Think and Grow Rich at Black Choice, but I got to tell you, this is my baby here. This is my
Wow.
favorite. What makes the great great? Now, let me ask you a
Wow.
question. Is this the one that you were writing before?
That's the one that I was writing. And the interesting, Brother Bedford, I had so many interviews, okay? So many interviews that I shared their stories in 3 books: Think and Grow Rich at Black Choice, What Makes the Great Great, and The Wealth Choice, and never told the story twice.
Wow.
Wow.
And there are individuals who I interviewed, and I never shared this story.
This is great.
I did Condoleezza Rice. I did share the story recently about, like I said, I spent about 3 hours with Earl Woods, Tiger Woods' father, and the stories he was sharing and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to write as fast as I can, but I'm an old fart, 72. George, we've chopped a lot of cotton, bro.
You ain't lying.
Man, I'm mad. Brother Bedford, will your generation give us participation awards like you do Generation X and Gen? Because we participated, man.
Wait a minute. George would tell you, I'm cut from your cloth. I don't know about those participation awards, but you deserve everything that's coming in. We definitely want to do our part to make sure.
Wow, I'm peddling as fast as I can, bro.
We're going to help you, Dr. Kimbro. We're going to help you. Promise. Dr. Fraser.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with you? I know we got PNC coming up. You're out speaking again. What's going on in your world?
First, I want to recommend that everyone follow me on one of my 5 social media platforms. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All right. You don't have to follow me on
You're
all
doing
5.
TikTok too, Doc?
I'm on
Yeah.
TikTok as well. So
Yeah.
whatever, and I post something every single day. Like the other day I posted, you are not what you think you are, but you are what you think. Okay. You are not what you think you are, but you are what you think. So I post something simple, right? Hopefully with some level of profundity every single day. So follow me on one of those platforms. I think every day you'll get some nugget. Okay. So whatever is your favorite. So that's A. B, I'm writing right now. I'm writing my autobiography. Okay. At 77,
Give
you
him
know.
give him the title, George. Put your hands over your ears.
And Brother Bedford, I think I told you the working title, right?
I think so. I think
So,
so.
this is, as you mentioned in my bio, I was an orphan and for 3 years, and then in toxic foster care. I aged out of foster care. No one thought I was college material, so I got a vocational diploma in carpentry, right? So that was my start. And so the working title of my book, Brothers and Sisters, and as Dr. Kimbro warned you, put your hands over your ears if you've never heard a curse word. Okay. The title of my autobiography is "You're Not Gonna Believe This Shit: The Life and Times of Dr. George C. Fraser." Okay. Now there will be a companion 2-person play with my sister and I. She's 1 year older than me. She's writing hers. We're going to publish them at the same time. And they're doing a documentary on my life. So all that's being worked on simultaneously. So don't forget that. You're not going to believe this.
I don't think anyone can forget that, because I think everybody says that, right?
Right? And it's an exclamation mark after shit. Now, on the first page, Dennis, it will be a definition in the various contexts of the word shit. So now you got to really think about that, because Black people are very creative.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I could walk up to you and talk to you about something I think is really awesome, and I say, man, it's the shit, man. Right? It's a whole different, right? Or that's shit. Right? It depends on the context and the inflection and how you use it. So I'm going to give that definition on the first page.
Okay, so what does it mean when you put N-word shit together?
Woo! That's a whole
define that, bro.
Right? So follow me on social media. Watch out for the autobiography sometime in 2024, I'm praying. And then I'm working on a mega project, which I cannot reveal. Will not be able to reveal it for at least 60 more days. A mega project that every Black person in the world will be impacted by. The cost of it is $1 billion.
Wow.
All right. And I laugh and joke, but I don't play. Right. So I've been working on it for a long, long time. Just got 6 million from a city. I'm not going to tell you the city, to a seed capital for the idea. That's how awesome it is. And so I'll reveal that the next time we're on. So that's taking up a big chunk of time. And then, as you said, we are about to launch our campaign for the 22nd annual Power Networking Conference in Houston, Texas, August the 2nd through the 5th. A conference, if you do not know, that has been selected by Forbes magazine is one of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed, right? Not one of the top 5 Black conferences, although it is blackety black, make no mistake about that. But one of the top 5 of all conferences. So this is our 22nd year, our last year in Houston, the next 3 years, so that I will be in time for the 25th anniversary of the PNC, Power Networking Conference, will be in Charlotte. We're moving to Charlotte. Okay, so that's breaking news. Now, the Power Networking Conference only discusses and trains, because we are a training conference. Dr. Kimbro has spoken at the conference on occasions. Of course, Brother Bedford is there every single year, and the list of who's who that has spoken at this conference reads like the most important Black people in the world come to this conference that's put on once a year to speak. August the 2nd through the 5th in Houston, Texas. So I'm going to make you an offer because you were smart enough to stick
Mhm.
with us tonight, to show up and stick with us tonight. I'm going to make you a Brother Bedford offer. Okay. So you can only get this offer through me vis-a-vis Brother Bedford. Okay. So here's the offer. If you look at this is the flyer coming up for 2023. If you look at the back, on the back are the rates. All right. So it says an adult registration for this sold out conference is $1,495, $1,500. We encourage everyone to bring a young person, a student, 17 to 25, college age. We should not be conferencing at this.
Mm-mm.
On his
George,
laptop.
yeah, internet is, she said it was shaky, right? Not stable. Let's see if he's gonna come back on real quick while we're waiting on George to come back on, and I'll bring him back.
Level without our, okay, okay. Am I back? Am I back?
You're back, George. You're back.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so an adult registration is $1,500. A student registration is $800 to this sold out conference. That's $2,300 for an adult and a young person. Now I'm going to take $1,800 off of that. All right, and give it to you. No, I'm sorry. What is it? I want to give it to you for $599. Is that $1,800? No. That's $1,700. So I'm going to take $1,700, give you both an adult and a young person for $599. Now you cannot get this if you go to the Power Networking Conference website. You cannot get it. You have to get it through me personally. It's simple. You have to email me at Fraser, just like it's spelled on the screen, Fraser@frasernet.com. Fraser@frasernet.com. FraserNet is one word. Fraser@frasernet.com. In the subject line, simply say I'm in. In the body of the email, put your full name and cell number. Full name and cell number. I will personally call you, and we will handle our business over the phone by credit card. Now, there's one caveat. It's limited to the first 15 people, because this is a crazy price. The first 15 people get that $1,700 discount for one adult and one young person in Houston, Texas, August the 2nd through the 5th. Email me, gfraser@frasernet.com. I'm in the subject line, your full name and cell number. I'll personally call you and we'll handle it over the phone. Okay, so that's my gift, my special offer to those of you who want to join the baddest brothers and sisters on the planet at one of the most celebrated and awarded conferences in Black America.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Fraser. Again, that's gfraser@frasernet.com. Subject line, I'm in. Put your name and your cell phone number in the body of the email, and George will give you a call. Dr. Fraser will give you a call personally, and those calls are normally worth more than the price of the conference.
That's sort of crazy. I know you're right. You're right, Brother Bedford.
Yeah.
But I like the personal touch. And remember, as I said, we only discussed 3 subjects: business, growing, developing, and scaling your business, answering the question, are you a brand or are you a logo? Right? Are you a brand or are you a logo? And answering the question, if you don't have a system, you don't have a business. Right? I don't know what the hell you have, but you don't have a business. And then building and properly managing wealth. And the final subject is, let's call it mental restoration. All right. It is helping us to understand who we really are.
This is great. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Fraser. I did see somebody again asking about the email for the recording. That's it's not brobedford.com. It's brobedford@brobedford.com. Judy, I hope you get that. That's BEDFORD at BROBEDFORD.com. And I'll get that to you. And of course, please take Dr. Fraser up on this special offer, as he mentioned, because you're here sharing this time and space with us. We want to make sure that you're able to continue and build the relationships that would lead to the success that you desire at the Power Networking Conference. Then, of course, we want you to go to Dr. Dennis Kimbro Speaks.com website, the Global Classroom. I love that title, Dr. Kimbro, the Global Classroom. And so with that said, many of you have asked a lot of questions and we just simply have run out of time. Thank you. And we'll try to do a part 2 in the near future. So I just want to give you your closing remarks, Dr. Fraser, as we close out, and then you, Dr. Kimbro, and then we'll let everybody else go on with their evening.
May God help us. God is the eminent servant. He knows that we have a challenge. He knows that he created us first, that we are the mothers and fathers of all humankind. Why did God make us first? Now think about that. He made us first because we are the only people on earth. The Black woman is the only person on earth that has the mitochondrial DNA to create any type of person on earth. That we are the only people that can make every color of people on earth. And history and ancient history has articulated and has demonstrated that. We are powerful people. And we need to understand that power. And it's embedded in us. It's in our DNA. And going forward, we must honor that. And we must act like it. So keep doing God's work. Find your purpose. There is one, or you just simply would not be here. Fulfill that purpose and serve your people. I rode in Success Runs in Our Race 32 years ago. I admonished our people. We must think race and culture first. Not only, but certainly first. I love you. We'll see you at the Power Networking Conference.
Love you too. Dr. Kimbro, your closing thoughts? Uh-oh. Dr. Kimbro, you got us muted.
I would just share with those on the webinar to live in the moment, as Martin Luther King said. And what is the moment that we all want to live in? We want to live in the moment between 2 prayers. It's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning. You get your mind centered, you get connected, and you open up the day with a prayer. Before you stick your toe in the water, before you log on to social media with all the chaos and confusion, you get your mind centered. And what's the last thing you do before that head hits the pillow at night? You pray. That is life between the moments and life in the moment. And the greatest prayer that you could ever make is the prayer for gratitude, for thankfulness. You need to thank God every day that we are created in his image. He's not created in ours.
Amen.
Amen. Well, you know how much I love both of you, and thank you so much.
Back at you.
Your time. I really do appreciate it. And to all of the listening audience, again, I hope that you've thoroughly enjoyed this the way that I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm blessed to have the opportunity to put in a call and have conversations like this with my 2 mentors. And I thought, what better way or what better service that I can give than to share my intimate conversations of what I gleaned from both of these gentlemen over the past 20 years and share them with you all. So I hope that you've thoroughly enjoyed it like I thoroughly enjoy it. And then we will get back with you on any request in terms of the replay of this, and also all of Dr. Kimbro, this is, I mean, they're just still asking questions and we just have to kind of
See?
come back to these things. So we kind of we hit some nerves. And by the way, Dr. Fraser, they love the title of your book. Everybody loves the
Good.
title of the book. So
Good,
this is
good.
good.
When I told Dennis, he loved it, right? He laughed. You know how Dennis, he has that hearty laugh. And he said what you said. He said, people are never going to forget that.
Yeah, at all. This is going to be great. And only you can do this.
Can pull that off.
Only you.
But I also told him if he uses that title, ain't no way in the world he going to heaven.
This is good. Thank you so much, Dr. Kimbro. Thank you so much, Dr. Fraser. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everybody, and we'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody.
God bless. Thank
God
you.
bless.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Good seeing you, Dan. Good seeing you, Brother Bedford.
Take care, Dr. Fraser.
All right now.
All right. God bless.